Senate GOP wary in Trump's revived health care battle. Video by Reuters. Washington. President Donald Trump's decision has stirred a political and policy debate among Republicans on how best to approach the divisive issue heading into the 2020 election. Failing to repeal and replace the OSAI, otherwise known as Obamacare, is one of the biggest shortcomings of the president's first term. It left Republicans. For Trump, the reset he wants is clear. But among Republican senators, there's reluctance to embrace Trump's new priority. Usually tight-lipped. And in the House, it's a mixed bag. Minority Leader. What's unclear is whether a Trump care bill will emerge from the White House or Capitol Hill to replace the Affordable Care Act, or if the president's push for a policy outcome fades to little more than a topic for the campaign trail. Trump discussed health care at length Thursday and again during an appearance in Florida Friday. For Trump, returning to health care shows his commitment to a 2016 campaign pledge and his desire to frame the 2020 debate on his terms. Stung by the Democratic gains in November and sparked by another OSAI legal challenge that could make its way to the Supreme Court, the president dug into the issue this past week, deciding to fight. He feels that the president has been actively engaged in conversations about health care, dialing up lawmakers in the House and Senate, and the White House is expected to lay out further details on his goals in the coming days. They. But in truth, there is no grand Republican plan on Capitol Hill to replace Obamacare. The day after Trump dropped the new priority during a private Senate GOP lunch, a top ally, Sr. Lindsey Graham had helped spark the idea with Trump during a golf outing at Mar-a-Lago. The group he assembled, but McConnell has made it clear he would rather see Republicans spend their time attacking the Democratic plans to expand existing health care programs, namely the Medicare for All plans embraced by some of the Democrats running to unseat Trump. He sees it as the thinking among McConnell and other leading Republicans is that it's best to avoid another messy legislative battle. Republicans they would rather simply wait out the White House with an expectation that no actual legislation emerges, according to those familiar with the GOP thinking. House Republicans, though, face a different calculus. They lost dozens of. McCarthy wants the majority back, the person said. Even though he questioned ill. But Republicans lost their chance to revise Obamacare when they controlled both chambers in Congress. Now, any bill, at most, lawmakers envision a modest package of health care bills that could lower prescription drug prices and other reforms that have wide bipartisan support. That may or may not be enough for Trump. And if not, he can continue advocating for more on the campaign trail. At the rally in Michigan, he vowed, "It's
raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.